Meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, and I would ask that Mrs. Alicia Jamara, our clerk, lead us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Now we'll go to oral communication. Public may speak on any item not printed on the agenda. No action may be taken by the board. We got 15 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Corey Ashton. I'm with the Department of Social Services, and I'm here to acknowledge the tremendous work done by this year's Chamber of Commerce Leadership Tuolumne County class. So we've got Mike Ayala with the Chamber of Commerce here, and I just wanted to publicly thank this particular class who selected the Emergency Children's Shelter as its annual project. And what they did was they were able to secure 50 large duffel bags for youth that come through our shelter so they can leave and transition with grace. They also are going to be doing some minor things around the shelter, including bringing a basketball hoop and a picnic bench that the kids can use that. So again, I just wanted to thank that class for doing such tremendous work on behalf of our youth.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay. Seeing none, could the clerk please read the consent calendar?
Minutes of the meeting held on May 20th, 2014. Resolution appointing Ann Knight as an extra helper tire annuitant to perform the duties as a Relief Systems Analyst Programmer 2 for the County of Tuolumne under Government Code Section 21-22-4, effective August 15, 2014. Item number 3 will be pulled and heard at a later date. Number 4 is authorizing the Tuolumne County Fire Department to apply for the Volunteer Fire Assistance Grant. Approving the third amendment to extend the lease with the Living Trust of Joan Del Seco for the Public Health and Social Services Protective Services Unit building. Approving the discharge of accounts for the behavioral health in the amount of $16,189.03 for a period beginning October 2007 to February 2013 in accordance with Government Code Section 25259. Declaring various equipment as not required for public use and surplus. Authorizing the deputy purchasing agent to dispose of the property through a one-day sale to be held at a later date. And as the Air Pollution Control District, adopting a resolution authorizing the Tuolumne County Air Pollution Control District to participate in the Year 16 Carl Moyer Truck Improvement Modernization Benefiting Emission Reduction Program. And as the Behavioral Health Housing Board of Directors, authorizing staff to post a notice of intent to purchase property located at 18370 Railbed Road, Jamestown, for the Behavioral Health Supportive Housing Program.
Thank you. Would any board member like to pull an item? Go, Craig.
Mr. Chair, I just want to clarify. 3 is just being pulled because we put the wrong title on the position, so we just need to get that posted correctly. That's the only reason.
Thank you. Any other board member like to pull an item?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, motion second. Public comment? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, could the clerk please read item 10?
Consideration of approving modifications to the fiscal year 2013-14 Tuolumne County budget.
Okay, Mr. Pedro.
Okay, Mr. Chair, back on May 20th, we came to your board with the year-end budget review, and there's some changes that would be consistent with those types of changes that we're bringing to you today. The first group covers some expenditure changes in 5 funds that frankly should have been covered in the year-end review, but just were overlooked, and apologize for that. They're all in your, well, one of them is your in your behavioral health housing fund. And that's what's happening is, as you know, we're not proceeding with behavioral health, the purchase of the Cabrini House this fiscal year. So it makes sense to decrease the revenue, decrease the expense, and that's all being rebudgeted next year anyway. So that's just a cleanup. More materially is that we do have expenditures that will exceed appropriations. That's your budget and liability, employee insurance, leave liability, and purchasing. The biggest one in there is in your employee group insurance. We'll spend about $869,000 more than the original appropriation. It's all covered. Really, the biggest reason for that is the increase in the insurance rates. The county's cost is capped under your MOUs, so this additional cost is being borne through payroll deductions from your employees. So it's no additional dollars from the county. Unfortunately, it does mean additional cost for your employees. But we should go ahead and acknowledge that the money will be spent and the appropriation needs to be increased. The other one I'll just mention and leave liability with the changes in our MOUs, allowing people to cash out again. We had more people opt to cash out than what had been originally anticipated, and that's fine, but we'll just need to pull that primarily out of your fund balance. All of those changes that are listed amongst those five funds were accurately depicted in your year-end budget review, so it has no impact on your ending fund balance, but it does need to be reflected in your budget. So that way the auditor has something to officially go ahead and charge against. The second group just covers a change in how the state is flowing realignment money to the county for health and social services. And it mentions at the bottom of the page, as far as our health fund, it's decreasing the vehicle license fee revenue it gives to the county, but increasing sales tax realignment by offsetting amounts, $320,000. Conversely, under welfare, it's going to increase VLF realignment, but decrease sales tax realignment funding, again, offsetting adjustments. The auditor would like to see those just reflected, so again, our budget is more in keeping with the actual flow of money. Totally concur in that. So those are the recommended changes, and if you have any questions, I'm here.
Okay. Questions?
I'd just like to hear from our auditor controller if she agrees with all of these changes. Ms. Batista.
My name is Debbie Batista, and I'm the County Clerk and Auditor Controller. I wear way too many hats and have way too many names. Of course I do. Mr. Pedro and I talked about the differences, and as Mr. Pedro pointed out, none of these will affect your fund balance. What they do affect is that the revenues were understated and the expenditures were overstated, and from the Budget Act, I'm not really supposed to pay any bills out if I have no appropriations. And I just would like to make sure that I stay out of jail. So, yes, I agree.
Okay, thanks.
Additional questions?
Just a question, comment in general. This morning I had the opportunity to look at the CSAC bulletin that just came out. And with the governor's budget, and this is just more comment than anything, it looks like that on those pre-2004 mandates that we're going to end up with around 139,000 possibly, and then also it looks like on the HUDA funds they're going to have about 459,000 available there for roads. So we will look at those at the end of the process, right?
That was part of our discussion last meeting and is commented on in the budget materials for today.
Okay.
Yes, is
Right.
the answer.
All right, thank you.
Motion. Okay. This time we'll go to public comment. Because we're making it too easy. Okay. Bring it back to the board.
I move on staff recommendation.
Second. Okay. Any other comments? Call for the question. Oh, you got one?
Just a comment. You know, this may seem like we're moving fast with this, but we've had this stuff for a long time, and
Yeah, we've seen it 3 or 4
it's,
times before the full board, and
pretty well vetted. So I don't want to think people that we are just moving this forward without any deep thought, but we have really looked at it. So.
thank you. And this is a good balanced budget, I would agree.
Well, let me just clarify. This is just making amendments to your 13-14 budget in those specific areas. We'll talk
Correct.
the 14-15 budget at 10:30.
Correct. And that was part of why I knew what the answer was, but I wanted the public to know that the auditor controller was involved in the process. And
Okay. I'll call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Could the clerk please read 11?
Consideration of approving the revision of the senior probation officer class specification.
Traffic jam back there. Good morning, Ann Friend, Human Resources Manager. Before you today is a revised class spec for the senior probation officer. As part of the reorg that's being discussed in your 14-15 budget, supervisory responsibilities are going to be assigned to senior probation officers for lower level probation officers, probation officer 1 and 2. The class spec for senior probation officer is currently benchmarked against our sheriff's sergeant, which has all of those encompassing responsibilities. And in order to make the reorg possible, we need to be able to reassign supervisory duties to the senior probation officers. We did meet and confer via email with the DSA, and they are in agreement with the changes made to this class spec. So staff recommends the board approve the revision to the senior probation officer class specification.
Thank you. Questions? Okay. Public comment? Bring it back for motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move on staff recommendation. I'd like to also comment and thank Adele for her work here in reorganizing and actually saving us money on our budget. That's a big plus. Thanks, Adele.
I'll second both the comment and the motion.
Okay. Got a motion and a second. Rutherford. And I will call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. 11A.
Consideration of approving correspondence to Congressman Tom McClintock encouraging the designation of the 2014 Farm Bill Biomass Crop Assistance Program dollars for biomass removal from catastrophic wildfires.
All right.
Morning, Daniel Richardson, Deputy County Administrator. Contained in the 2014 Farm Bill is a portion of it is the Biomass Crop Assistance Program. This allocates $12.5 million this year for the harvest and transportation of biofuels. In the past, this money has typically gone towards the processing of corn stalks and cobs for ethanol production. What we are proposing is to encourage a particular amount, a set-aside for the biomass removal due to catastrophic wildfires for future wildfire prevention. And so we have produced this went to the Natural Resources Committee. They recommended bringing a letter to you that communicates these points. So a letter is for your consideration.
Thank you. Questions?
Just a
Sure.
kind of a point of clarification. There's kind of really two pieces of this that came out of our natural resource meeting, and it's that in this year's, and I believe it's a one-time funding designation, $10 million of that is set aside for biomass projects that are on public lands. And so we're specifically asking that those projects really have an emphasis on where there have been catastrophic wildfires to help with the biomass removal in those wildfire locations. And then secondly, like Mr. Richardson pointed out, normally this allocation, I think it's a 5-year, the Farm Bill's a 5-year funded piece at this time. Normally that allocation does go more towards the Midwest for biofuels, transportation, ethanol, and we are asking them to consider some appropriation in the future to be designated towards biomass removal in these catastrophic wildfires. So it's really kind of a two-piece.
Very good. Thank you, Sherry. Randy?
Adding to what Supervisor Brunner just said, in the work we did a few weeks ago with the harvest and salvage operations out there, there is an enormous amount measured in millions of tons, many millions of tons of biomass material on the rimfire footprint. And the choice is to pile and burn that stuff, or in some cases where it's not accessible, just let it decay into oblivion, all of which is not the right answer. By putting it into a biomass generating plant, we save enormous amounts of air pollution contaminants, and it's just the right thing to do. We can use $10 million a year for the next 5 or 6 years in supporting local biomass generation just with rimfire footprint material. That's the enormity of the problem. And I think we need to be very aggressive in going after this kind of money. It benefits California. It benefits everybody who has anything to do with air pollution, and it gets some of that material off our footprint.
Thank you. Any other?
Yeah, just one more quick point, because Supervisor Hanfeld brought up some very important points when he talked about their alternative if this does not go to biomass, the piling of this enormous amount of material out there. The burning of that will be dependent on air quality control, burn days, and so even with that, there is the potential that those piles could sit out there for a very, very long time, years.
Mm-hmm.
So removing the material is certainly in the county's best interest.
Thank you. Okay. Is there any public comment?
Good morning. My name is Chris Trott. I have a company called CT Bioenergy Consulting here in the county. I'm here today representing the YSS Collaborative, and I'm not going to repeat anything that's already been said, because I just want to say that the YSS fully supports this. We are focused. The YSS is focused on projects that will rehabilitate the rimfire area. That's the primary focus, and so they're very supportive of the timber harvest and the salvage operations. But what's left out there, the Forest Service needs to reduce the residual fuels down to 10 to 20 tons per acre, which is a tremendous amount of reduction out there. There's material right now along these roads that are being salvaged right now, the hazard tree salvages, but the biomass portion, the 12-inch and smaller trees that are along these roads are not being touched. The only way that they're going to get touched is if there's this BCAP money available right now to be able to help do that. So then like you said, Supervisor Handel, there's millions of tons of material out there, and the Forest Service has no idea how they're going to pay for the removal of that stuff. So the YSS fully supports, and will probably write a similar letter as well, and the county is a charter member of YSS. So just wanted to say thank you. I hope you do this.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Any other public comment? If not, I'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
Yeah, I'd make a motion to send a letter to Congressman McClintock encouraging use of BCAP funds in catastrophic fire areas.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Okay. Item 12 has been pulled and will be heard at a later date. So could the clerk please read item 13?
This is a first reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 13.08 of the Tuolumne County Ordinance Code to bring Section 13.08.150A2 relative to public sewage connections and Section 13.08.231 relative to the gray water system into conformance with the 2013 California Plumbing Code.
Thank you. Staff report.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm Bev Shane, Community Resources Director. Chapter 13.08 of the Tuolumne County Ordinance Code is our sewage disposal ordinance. Section 13.08.150 addresses when property owners are required to connect to a public sewer, and that is when a sewer is considered to be reasonably available. In this ordinance, which has been in effect for many years, our requirement is that the location of the project site is within 300 feet of a public sewer system, is how we define that it is available. An applicant for a septic system recently questioned why we measured from the property line when the California Plumbing Code utilizes a measurement from the structure that would be connected to the sewer. We reviewed our ordinance with County Council, and we are here today to ask your board to consider modifying our ordinance to bring it into compliance with the plumbing code. The specific changes would be that rather than measuring from the property boundary, it would be to the building. Our general plan specifies 300 feet as being the availability definition. The plumbing code uses 200. In order to be consistent with our general plan, we are proposing to retain the 300-foot distance, but to modify again where we measure from and how we measure. Our ordinance currently provides for a horizontal distance. The plumbing code does not. So again, we're here today to simply ask your board to update our ordinance to bring it into compliance with the provisions of the California Plumbing Code. Our Environmental Health Director, Rob Costlevy, is here with me today to answer your questions about this ordinance.
Questions?
Just for Rob, how often has this come about? I have personal experience with it.
Probably about once a year.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it certainly makes sense to make the change.
Any other comments, questions? Public comment? Okay, I'll just make it quick. Thank you for getting this through quickly. And this is going to help someone that has a problem. It's a technicality and kind of we have to follow the rules. So by being flexible, we're changing, this little technicality to help someone, and I really appreciate that. So can I get a motion?
Yeah, I move on staff recommendation.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion, a second. I will call for the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, could the clerk please read reports? Might as well.
Reports is 14.
Thank you. Okay, let's start with Mrs. Brennan.
Okay.
Feels like it's too early to do reports.
It does. A couple things that I want to report on that didn't have items coming out of my committees. We've seen something from the Natural Resource Committee and Behavioral Health. At the Area 12 Agency on Aging meeting last Thursday, a number of our senior citizens expressed their concerns about fire clearances on their properties. And I would make a plea to folks out there to be good neighbors. With the fire clearance, I believe it's 200 feet or to the nearest property line. And that nearest property line can present some problems if structures are 15, 20 feet from that property line. They can't get the clearance that they need for defensible space. And that seems to be the case with some of our seniors in this community. And so I would ask us all to be really cognizant and be good neighbors. And if we have fields that are up against those private pieces, let's clear them and give everyone some defensible space. It's very important, especially given the drought conditions that we're under today. And then lastly, I'd like to report on a tour that I took yesterday with a number of individuals. The Forest Service organized a trip out on the Rim Fire, and they had representatives from Washington, D.C., with environmental quality and some senior members from within the Forest Service agency. All views were represented on that tour, and when I say all views, there is certainly a group of individuals that believe nothing should be done on the landscape. There should be no harvest. There should be no manipulation of the environment out there. And so I would caution that we as a county board we are engaged in the process, but that we don't lose sight of the process at any point, and that we stay diligent. Some of these individuals have made it fairly clear that they will be litigating any of the alternatives that come forward that look for harvest on the landscape. As we talked about earlier, there is an enormous amount of fuel loading out there. We are aware of that. We've been out there. But for our citizens that are in the community that have not seen it, please, you have an opportunity to be engaged. This is your backyard. Comment on these plans. And the Forest Service needs to hear from all of us. And it is important that not just your county representatives, but you as individuals be engaged in the process, be commenting. Because I know personally, I don't want to see all of that fuel stand out there for the next fire that blows through and be just the next largest fire in the state of California, because we have so much dead material out there on the landscape. So please be engaged in the process.
Thank you. Let's go to Supervisor Gray.
Thank you. On the 4th, we had an airport committee meeting in Groveland, and we discussed the issue of the through the fence at Pine Mountain Lake and the advantage of having a through the fence operation so that we can get FAA funds for repair and maintenance. We also discussed the hangar lease. Both of those issues are ongoing. We're going to need more work, and hopefully when we have a new airport director, he can jump right into the middle of this with both feet and help us achieve something that everybody's going to love. On the 5th, Board of Supervisors Planning Committee meeting, we discussed another element of the general plan. On the 9th, I attended the Commission on Aging meeting. We do need some representatives from District 4 to work with that group, energetic group of people. They do a lot of good things, and they're a board committee, so I would hope that someone in District 4 out there would be interested in joining. You can get an application on the county webpage, so please, we need your help. On the 9th, we had the LAFCO meeting approved the annual budget, and it is less than last year, which is always good news, but I believe it was the shortest meeting in history for LAFCO. But that's good. Obviously, on the 10th, we had a Board of Supervisors special meeting. Also on the 10th, the solid waste meeting, we approved a recommendation to be sent to the Board of Supervisors for the paving of the transfer station in Pinecrest. Supervisor Royce, your constituents should be happy when that gets done. On the 11th, SWIFT meeting in Moccasin. Shelley Cook from U.S. Forest Service did a presentation on fire severity in the thinned areas where there was treatment, and it's obvious that where the fire was burnt, where it burnt in those thinned areas, it burnt not as hot, and they have a solution. We just have to make sure that everybody buys into it, and it's taking more out when they do those thinning projects. I think that'd be something that would be nice to get her to bring to the Board of Supervisors if possible, so the public can see that. Also, on the 11th, attended the Senior Expo at the fairgrounds. Now, this is an event that's put on by the Commission on Aging. They do a great job. I think they had over 40 booths there at the fairgrounds, and all those booths were businesses and services for seniors. So that's something that they really worked hard on, and it was very successful. On the 11th, we had a TCTC meeting, and we did approve some major route changes for the transportation system. We had good public input, and I think staff did a good job of trying to answer the public on their concerns. And that's my report.
Thank you. Supervisor Rutherford.
Yes, on the 5th, I met with our Veterans Affairs Office staff to talk about some issues that they're working hard on behalf of our veterans. That outfit is doing great work with a relatively limited budget. For those of you that don't know, vets from other counties come to our Vet Affairs office because it does better work than their own Vet Affairs office does. I also had lunch with Jim Junet, who's the new district ranger up in the Groveland Groveland district of our national forest. Good man. Looking forward to working with him. Also, I attended the planning committee, BOS planning committee meeting. On the 6th and the 12th, I attended 2 water meetings. The one on the 6th was sponsored by Aqua and Mountain County's Water Resource Agency, and the one on the 12th was the Sierra Water Works group that really is it's a collaborative of the various IRWM projects. I actually made the presentation on behalf of our IRWM JPA on our current status to that group, and I was fortunate enough to be able to talk in some detail with several of the state's water leaders, to include Felicia Marcus twice, once at each place, with respect to some of our concerns on water. She is the chairwoman of the State Water Quality Control Board. On the 9th, I attended, represented us on the ATCA Internal Affairs Committee meeting, and on the 13th, I followed that up with the ATCA board meeting. Also on the 9th, I was the guest participant, not speaker. I was reminded of that at the Tuolumne County Commission on Aging meeting, along with Supervisor Gray. That was very good meeting. I enjoyed that a lot. And I also did attend the morning portion of the Senior Expo. Good event. We need to get more of our seniors out there. We need to figure out a way to do that. There's a lot of resources that are there for you. On the 10th, I attended, as the alternate, I attended the Natural Resources Committee meeting, and that's pretty much my report.
Supervisor Hanbelt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I go into my report, I'd like to acknowledge some guests we have here today. We have 2 young men from San Benito County. My grandson, Hunter, if you'd stand up, Hunter. Hunter's 12 years old, and his friend Jamie, and my bride's here of 49 years on Thursday. They just came back from Mexico, where they built a house for some needy people down there. So I want to thank them for joining us today. Now, for the report, after the last Board of Supervisors meeting, I went out in the forest with some of our Natural Resource Committee volunteers, basically Maddox and Phelan, and we were out there primarily doing a survey on the noxious weed encroachment on the rimfire footprint. Let me just say, in the burned areas, particularly the areas that are not severely burned, there is amazing growth out there. There is tall grass out there. Some of the hardwoods are growing from the base, and I saw 3-foot growth and more on such thing from the base on black oak and I guess large leaf maples out there. It was pretty amazing. But unfortunately, there is a lot of grass on the lava cap. Now, we've been advocating for getting at least limited grazing back on there, and it hasn't been done. The unfortunate part is the Medusa head is there, and it is rampant, and it is beyond the point where if you put grazing on now, the cows won't eat it. They would have earlier because it has too much silica content in it. But and yellow star thistle is growing back. Because we haven't gotten on that this year, the Forest Service hasn't, the public hasn't. They've done some minor hand pulling, but let me tell you, the problem is immense, and the seed bank will be 100-fold next year. The problem will grow with great immensity and difficulty to deal with. it has to be dealt with, and they have to start their NEPA processes now if they're going to do it next year. Noxious weeds will be a problem and will spread to county property and to our ranchers and everywhere else, and it will be a problem. So noxious weeds is a problem. So I did that primarily because no one was talking about noxious weeds, and I hosted here in these chambers on that Friday, the day after, a noxious weeds seminar, hoping to get people excited about doing something and doing it now. We had Scott Anetto from UC there, and we had Vicki Homar there, and I think we at least raised some attention, but we'll have to push on that. I also had lunch with Pam Baltimore, who was the information officer on the rimfire recovery, before she left, and exchanged some ideas back and forth on that on the rimfire subject. Last week on Tuesday, Randy Moore was here to go out and look at limited grazing. He has not reported back on that, but he promised me he would call me. I'm expecting that call any day now, or any hour for that matter. But he was looking at limited grazing out there and noxious weeds and a few other things. So Randy Moore came out last week, and as he promised, and hopefully we'll get some action out there. I also then attended to the RCRC annual meeting, which was held in the county of the chairman, which was in Nevada County. We got a little tour of Nevada County, and we dealt with a lot of issues that were upcoming, a lot of them budget issues, and I fed those back kind of as I got them via text message or email to our staff, those that I thought might be pertinent to us. And then on Friday, I attended the ATCA meeting, and then I went to YSS, and I gave a report on noxious weeds and a few other things. One of the comments I want to make, because it isn't balanced in the news reports you get. You get these reports from the Center for Biological Diversity and from some of these single-issue environmental activists. They talk about by doing any salvage, we're destroying black-backed woodpecker habitat. Let me explain to you that the black-backed woodpecker, I did a little research on this, and everybody agrees with me, that it basically goes after burned trees. Now, those burned trees weren't there before rimfire. We are on the very southernmost edge of the habitat of black-backed woodpeckers. So there's a question whether they'll even show up here or not. But instead of destroying habitat, we're not touching 75% of the burn footprint on the national forest and all of the national park. Over 200,000 acres of the burn is being left for the black-backed woodpecker. So let me suggest we're actually creating habitat for the black-backed woodpecker, not destroying it. That's a little bit different perspective. Anyway, I shared that with them. And the other one is we must, based on Shelley Crook's work that John mentioned, we must pick up the pace on what we're doing in the national forest. We're taking ourselves to more rimfires all over the state and all over the western United States if we don't do something. Anyway, enough of that preaching. I went and met with Horst Gretschmiel and Tony Took yesterday morning. They were the tour yesterday on the forest. Supervisor Brennan went on, was for them. Mr. Gretschmiel is the man from the Council on Environmental Quality that authorized the streamlining of the environmental process so we, in fact, can salvage material and we can go after some of this footprint. And I want to thank him and also he and Tony Took from, he's the assistant deputy to Tidwell, the forest director, whatever, assistant deputy director of the forest service. Anyway, they were there, and we had a nice meeting for only about 10 minutes before they went on tour. I went to the Chamber of Commerce Government Affairs Council meeting, and then yesterday I went to Fresno. Yesterday afternoon I went to Fresno for the public meeting on the forest planning management plan for the Sierra National Forest. You say, why would I go to that? These are the introductory plans that are being done based on the new forest management plan or rule that was established in 2012. They will be the templates for other forest plans, including ours, and ours is next on the schedule. It's important we get the appropriate input into those plans. And in fact, it is my opinion that they're premature, and they have delayed a little bit, but they're premature because they need to get the lessons learned from rimfire into those forest plans, or they will not be correct. And there were a lot of people there from the public. The meeting went overtime, and it's an important thing. We need to stay on that. Natural Resources Committee needs to do that. So, sir, that is, one last thing. I mentioned I will be gone next week because my bride and I are going to take a little holiday and celebrate 49 years. So I'll say adieu to you, and I say thank you to my bride who's here.
Thank you, and congratulations on 49 years. That's pretty cool. Mr. Peter?
Gloria, I don't know how you did it.
Yeah. We need to get a resolution.
Most patient, tolerant, and understanding. Angel of Tuolumne County.
Right. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, just two things. We did get the initial comments out on behalf of the county on the rimfire recovery EIS, just to get our foot in the door. It was very general, but we emphasized wanting to harvest as many trees as possible, which the board has spoken about numerous times, both for the economic value but also for the healthy forest benefits associated with it. Also encouraging use of more biomass as opposed to burning. They have huge burn piles in some of this stuff, and it'd be great economically and environmentally if they could do more biomass versus burning of some of that debris. Encouraged they move with urgency, which may help be able to get things moving in general, but may also help with initial concerns about litigation, which is also something just mentioned in the letter, a concern about how that could slow that down and cause all kinds of problems. So that letter did go out. The intention was trying to have our committee chair of natural resources sign it, but she was busy in the forest yesterday, so we needed to get that out. But Sherry said that was good. Get the letter out. Okay. And as far as I did want to mention on the drought, we did have a drought task force meeting. This is the one made up of a lot of the small water companies throughout the county. It was interesting on the individual reports of some of those. Some are doing okay. Others are starting to see their static levels just begin to go down compared to historical. There was no one ready to push the panic button yet, but it's just good to continue the dialogue. People are monitoring those things. Again, assistance from the county through Mr. Kostlevy, also other state agencies that were there. Actually, the gal from public health is almost as informed, if not better informed, as even some of the directors of some of those water agencies. So I just paint that as a picture where everyone's engaged, everyone's talking, trying to be helpful wherever we can. There were some concerns raised by some of the members that were there, these water agencies, about the action taken by TUD with respect to lawns, because they could see that being problematic from the messaging of that, and there was no conclusion. That's trying to figure out how do we encourage conservation and have that out there. But it was notable, so I'm just mentioning it. And then something that we've discussed in private meetings with the state, but it was mentioned in the task force as well, that people are, they've got the message here locally, but what about all the folks that are coming up from areas that aren't as impacted as Tuolumne County, particularly from the Bay Area or Southern California? Real concerns. We've brought that up in some of our one-on-one meetings with state agencies when they do statewide advertising about conservation, that they really push it statewide. This is a statewide issue. Everyone should be conserving. So when they do come to Tuolumne County, they're conservation-minded. That's the biggest concern that I heard from the small water agencies, particularly those in the high country where there's a lot of second homes and things like that.
I think that's a valid concern because I got a phone call from a lady that has a daughter that's down in the Bay Area, San Jose specifically, and she went down there and she bent my ear for about 20 minutes on how they're not doing anything, and she doesn't think that's right. So,
well, I mentioned we'll continue to push with the state agencies, but perhaps we could look also at the board level and through CSAC, RCRC, contacting state folks to, on a statewide basis, get that word of conservation out. Because this, again, it's bigger than Tuolumne County, and it's just hard, particularly in the high country. They're very concerned of the draw that's going to be on those smaller systems. We also, and that was it on our little task force. We did get a ping from the contact from the state route task force, and they do have interest in holding a meeting here sometime soon. So we're looking at potential dates of that, and certainly we'll be talking with the board, because that'd be really important to have them here, actually in our county. We did get approval on the continuation of the reduced fish releases. That just got worked out last week. We'd hoped that it could have gone through December. They've continued it to a point in October, I believe, to be revisited. But that's good, because the last time it went right up to the day. So we've been monitoring that. This whole idea of this curtailment of pre- and post-1914 water rights, it's already happened on the post-1914, and the intention is to curtail the pre-14 water rights. That puts a whole other wrinkle on this thing, and what does that really mean to us, particularly those of us in the Sierra, where the theory being you can have rights to the water that's stored, but any additional water coming in needs to come out on the other side. Talking with Mr. Seja, they are trying to work it out so it's not such a cookie-cutter thing, because it's not like we're in the valley. We're at the headwater, if you will, and it has a different connotation or implication for us. So that's a concern, but monitoring that as well. Discussions about the Pinecrest Lake level and having that flexibility that we need to bring that down when needed, and public health and safety being a priority over recreation. However, that's also a shared high priority value, delicate dance. But I am speaking out on behalf of the board, saying the board's going to look after health and safety of the public here with respect to our recreational and the economic value of all that. But if it comes to the two, we need water for people and deal with fire protection and those kinds of things. But hopefully they're not mutually exclusive. Everyone just uses common sense. And then the discussion about Maloney's and how fast that water is going down, and TED still looking for ways to extend facilities further into the stream bed to be able to pull water longer. But TUD, if they haven't already started, should be starting soon and pulling that out. As you well know, the Matlow Reservoir is being expanded with great cooperation of the property owner. Very pleased about that. And that provides both a backup for the Columbia community when the ditch outage occurs later this year, but also if there's any interruption of water, not only for the community, but also for the Columbia Air Attack Base, which is critical. So those are some of the high points of things that we continue to monitor and advocate for. That's it.
County Council.
Thank you. The last few weeks, the attorneys, we've all been working on a lot of juvenile contested hearings. We have 6 this week. Will keep us very busy. And then we actually met last week. We are putting together a draft template contract for professional services agreement, and our hope is that when it gets out to the county departments, it'll have an instruction sheet that they will be able to easily use, so that it should make review much more quick for us, and then also more simple for them in terms of the kind of language we like to see in contracts. That's my report.
Clerk?
Nothing to report, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Could the clerk please read our closed session?
Closed session conference with real property negotiator, price and terms, Craig Pedro, Daniel Richardson, Authority Government Code Section 54956.8. Several parcels located at the Jamestown Mine, APN 58200-27 through 30 and through 35, and then 560-01 through 03 and 59080-42. Conference with labor negotiators, Craig Pedro and Fremd, Authority Government Code Section 549576, all bargaining units. Conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, Authority Government Code Section 549569D1, in Ray Lehman Brothers Securities and ERISA litigation, United States District Court, Southern District of New York, case number 09MD2017LAK.
Thank you. Any public comment on the closed sessions? Do we expect to report anything? No? Okay. We will recess to closed session. Okay, we're back from closed session. Nothing to report. Could the clerk please read our 10:30?
Consideration of approving the recommended Tuolumne County budget for fiscal year 2014-15.
Thank you. Staff report.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm not going to go through this whole memo that I put with your recommended budget, but it does talk about our general process and how this has become pretty much a year-round activity that we're involved in, with many changes in our process that your board has put into the system to make this more responsive to the board's needs. I will review that we started earnest discussions about this back in February when we came to the board with our 14-15 through 18-19 multi-year budget projections, where we were showing a relatively small $1 million annual shortfall amongst the county's three major funds. And I'll just mention that it's in the road fund and fire fund, where we just have an ongoing problem where we just don't have sufficient revenues to cover the ever-increasing costs there, with particular concern about our road funds. And that's something that needs help beyond just the borders of Tuolumne County. It's a statewide and national issue. Something new is, after having that general multi-year projection, your board wanted to see what the multi-year would look like if some of the assumptions were changed, and the board did ask that some of the high priority positions that it was interested in and the highest priority capital projects be folded into that multi-year projection, and we came back with that. And basically that just increased the size of the deficit just because we didn't have the revenues to sustain or to cover those costs initially or ongoing. But again, that was a new thing that your board had step that your board had injected into the process. After going through that, your board essentially said, let's have staff return in late May with an initial look, at the budget, which was essentially status quo, for your additional direction to staff. And again, that was new to the process as well. So we came back on May 20th and showed that we had about a $1.4 million problem in the general fund. Your board was able to give direction to staff on how to fund some of your one-time expenses with one-time fund balance that have been reflected in your contingencies, dropping the deficit to about $773,000. I'm on page 2 of the memo. So go back, work with department heads without giving them specific department-by-department targets, and see what revenue and expense adjustments could be made to close that gap and build in some margin for some things that your board was interested in. Review all of our discretionary general fund transfers out for possible reduction, and we could tap into a portion of our general fund contingencies for ongoing costs if necessary. And the result, so that was our charge, and we came back then on top of page 3 with a report to you, status and direction on the 14-15 budget on June 3rd. And basically, staff was able to come back with the help of all department heads with a completely balanced budget that stays true to the county's budget policies, board priorities as articulated over the past several months. A couple specific things that your board directed at that June 3rd meeting is you wanted to see $50,000 of one-time funding and contingencies used to fund a contract biologist, and that was essentially primarily to be used to help support some of the work related to natural resources as opposed to ongoing development projects. It was mainly about natural resource work, so we can comment on things of importance to the board. And then secondly, gave staff direction to go ahead and allocate $263,000, rounding that, in one-time funding and contingencies to fund replacement of weapons and vehicles in the Sheriff's Department. And again, just to tie that together, that was based on specific savings that was being generated from the Sheriff's Department, which is one of the reasons why that was going back specifically to the Sheriff's Department. So with that, we have now finished assembling the recommended budget, and what is before you is very much a status quo budget in terms of both permanent staffing and your programming levels. and based on what's in the charts that I'll go through in just a moment, it demonstrates the county has leveled out financially after a 7-year run of particularly challenging budget years, and has arrived at what many have termed the new normal for base operations and staffing within the county. In the general fund, what this shows is it's actually a decrease of $753,000 under this budget, and that goes from the adopted budget of last year, which I think we adopted in early October, to this recommended budget. However, this decrease is heavily influenced by the one-time revenues and expenses related to the 2013 rim fire that had, not totally, but mainly offsetting revenue and expense of about $1.5 million. If you were to adjust for this one-time emergency incident, then your budget will have actually grown by about $701,000, or a little over 1%. Amongst your governmental funds, and that's all of your, again, I know the board knows this, but anyone watching or listening, that's a compilation of all your major operating and capital funds. So that'd be like your general fund, your road fund, your fire fund, welfare, behavioral health, road capital, your county capital funds. If you put them all together, they total about $141.4 million, which is a very notable $17.1 million increase amongst all those funds. So why did that go up so much? And the main reason is that we've included the $16.8 million juvenile detention facility within there. And we've been talking about that for years. We had secured our state SB 81 grant that covers 100% of the construction. The grant's it's $16 million of the $16.8 million cost included in the budget. So that's the biggest reason, for that. A couple things I did want to apprise the board of since the June 3rd meeting. First is that there's a $70,000 storage area network project that was in last year, or the 13-14 IT budget, that will not be delivered this fiscal year. So what we've done is, but it's very important to finish that project. We have part of the follow-through, and that was already in our 14-15 initial budget. What we did is just assume that savings, increased your fund balance by $70,000, and put that expense right back into IT. We also, in consultation with the Sheriff's Department, we took $55,000 out in assumed AB 109 revenues and offsetting vehicle expense. That was removed from the jail budget, and again was done with the knowledge and concurrence of Sheriff Administration. And then third, the Cabrini House acquisition we talked about earlier has been rebudgeted, requiring $300,000 offsetting revenue and expense in both the behavioral health and behavioral health housing funds. And that's an example that I was talking with one of the supervisors last evening. That $300,000, just the way the budget works, you end up showing it twice, both in the behavioral health fund, and then you transfer it over and show it coming into the behavioral health housing fund. The effect was it actually increased the budget by $600,000 because you end up counting that revenue twice. It's just the way that the money flows. In my view, it almost inflates what the real size of the budget is, but wanted to point that out. And there was one other thing I wanted to add to this is that we also, your board took some actions on the year-end budget earlier, reflecting some changes in how the state flows realignment money to us. There was one part of the same kind of change in how they fund us that was not included in the initial budget that we reviewed on May 20th and June 3rd, and that's where we showed an additional $320,000 in welfare vehicle license fees. So we had to show that revenue coming into the general fund and then show that money being transferred out to the welfare fund. So it came in on one hand and went out with the other. And then the receipt of that money and the use of that money was already shown in the welfare fund, though we did change the account number because it was not shown in the correct account number on the welfare side. So that's one thing I should have made note of. I wanted your board to be aware of. No net impact on anything, any direction that you guys have given us. In the internal service funds, those grew by $1.3 million. amongst the county's internal service funds, and that's primarily due to, we discussed this earlier this morning in your year-end, about $750,000 in increased health and disability insurance costs borne by our county employees, and then about a $350,000 increase in leave liability funding in preparation for the retirement of more of the county's baby boomer era employees. And particularly the chairman, you asked me the question, what about the growth in that area? And I mentioned about the additional leave set-asides or the additional set-asides for future liabilities. That was only a partial answer. That's the 350 would be an example of that. But we did have that increased health care cost, which is being borne by our employees. So overall, your overall budget, which would be $163.1 million, it would be growing by $18.4 million. However, by again adjusting for the juvenile detention project, the remainder of the county budget will grow by a modest $1.6 million, or again just over 1%. And as far as your permanent employees, full-time equivalents, it's only an overall gain of 4.35 FTEs. 3.6 of those full-time equivalents were approved during the current fiscal year. And I wanted to point out this is one less than what we discussed both on May 20 and on June 3rd. We thought there had been one position your board had added during the middle of the year, but you had not. So this is actually one less position than what I previously reported, so I wanted to point that out. But the bottom line is, in this recommended 14-15 budget, you really are only adding a net of less than one position, or 0.75 full-time equivalents. As far as your personnel actions, they're contained in tab 2, attachment A. This is the same as what we looked at on June 3rd. These are the position adjustments that the board seemed to be okay with, so they have been contained in the numbers, and that chart summarizes them. I have still shown, also then I just gave you the allocated positions by department, a summary, which is attachment B, so you can actually see the changes by department over a period of years. And then for consideration in your final budget hearing, again, it's just contained for ease of reference. Attachment C of tab 2 is just a restatement of those high priority restoration positions that you can consider in your final budget hearing. And again, and we started talking about this earlier, you will know so much more by the time you get to your final budget hearing. You'll have your fund balances, your updated revenue estimates. Just show how tight Mr. Catano looks at things in the property tax or the valuations. He was proudly calling me saying he might be able to eke out another 1/10% increase in our assessed valuation, but he's looking for every penny that he can. We know the outcome of the miscellaneous PERS cost-sharing contract vote, which could increase our expenses if that were to fail, but we're hopeful that it won't. We will also know the final state budget actions, and that's where I'll just mention that we started talking about that a little bit this morning. I don't have a full report for you, but based on the budget action bulletin just put out, by CSAC, they just threw some estimates at what the $73 million that the legislature put into the budget for the beginning to repay money to counties for unreimbursed state mandates. For Tuolumne County, this initial down payment is estimated, and we need to get additional information. These are estimates from CSAC of about $139,000. And I believe Debbie said that that's about a $2.2 million liability that we're owed. And this is just a statement by the legislature. We're going to make good on our commitment to pay you guys back. But stay tuned until we get the final allocations. Yeah, in theory, with interest. The other thing I'll just note, because I know the board's been there's a lot of things in here, but just note, we've talked about this. They did include another $500 million in state lease revenue bonds for jail construction. We would hope to, just like there was an AB 900 Phase 1 and 2, this would be like your SB 1022 Phase 1 and 2 along that same line. This is much better than a poke in the eye. If nothing else, people won't be looking at our money. They'll be going after this. But thinking positively, this gives us another bucket of money that we can pursue to enhance the money that we add to the money that we already got through SB 1022, as well as our attempts to look at some of the other counties that may not be proceeding with their AB 900 money. This gives us another option, something that we can pursue. Go ahead.
The point is, it also gives those people opportunity to go after additional funds. So it still throws it up in the air.
A double-edged sword,
Yes.
as you're saying, yeah. I mean, there's some, the only other thing I'll mention that Supervisor Gray mentioned this morning was under the early repayment of HUTA loans to counties, and HUTA being highway user tax account loans. Again, CSAC included a chart, in here, and I was just talking with Bev before the meeting started here. She hasn't seen this, and I haven't had a chance to call CSAC staff. There's 3 columns in this report, but the third column says fiscal 2014-15 budget total allocation of $121 million to counties. If this estimate is close to good, we'll take it. It would be a one-time allocation of nearly $447,000, much better than a poke in the eye as far as one-time funding, but we need ongoing as well. But again, we'll take it.
It'll fix a road or two.
It'll definitely help. So those are some things. This and others, I mean, there's things about Medi-Cal, rate increases and changes, and a lot of other things, in there. There is money for recidivism, base allocations, and addressing recidivism. So there's a lot of things demonstrating why you'll have more information and options to exercise in your final budget hearing. And then again, Deb has mentioned that hopefully we'll know what our actual savings figures are from the PERS Safety Side Fund refinancing that she's spearheaded there. So some other things that just to make this all work, there's an information technology project list put together by your department heads collaboratively using the funds that are available. What are the most important IT projects to advance during the year? That's shown on tab 2, attachment D. Your capital project list, again, you've seen both of these a couple times now. Attachments E and F for both your county capital fund and your road construction capital fund. Those are contained in your general fund contingencies. Those are now landing at $1,480,000, $480,921. $1 million is needed to comply with your budget policy to set aside 1% for just pure contingencies. The remaining $480,921 is available for one-time uses, cash match for the new jail, equipment needs, major road projects, increase in the county reserve, et cetera, whatever your board would want. Or the board may choose to use some of that or all of this to address ongoing operational needs, and that's something that the board agreed we could look at in the final budget. So in the middle of the page, I just kind of break down, here is your projected general fund balance at $2,480,000, which is almost exactly $1 million less than the actual beginning fund balance for this year. So it seems we are tightening it up, but now this is based on year-end estimates, and some of the savings we anticipate in some departments will be less, some will be more. And again, we'll have those actual fund balances when we get into the final budget hearing. How is that one-time balance used in this budget? The $1,480,000 and change in contingencies, $100,000 went to the rebudget of the general plan EIR work that we discussed. $516,000 and some change went to as a transfer to capital fund for your juvenile detention facility. $50,000 towards the contract biologist, $262,000 and some change to the sheriff weapons and vehicles, and $70,000 rebudgeting that IT project I mentioned at the beginning. And I love to see that goose egg in there that none of it is going towards ongoing operational costs at this point. So this budget truly is built on ongoing revenues covering ongoing expenses, and you're using this fund balance only for one-time types of things. So as I stated, when the board comes back in your final budget hearing on September 2nd, it will have refined revenue and expense numbers and answers to important questions that could materially impact this budget, such as that miscellaneous PERS cost-sharing contract vote. I did put into the very end of the memo just as a reminder to the board of something that that you've adopted, your priority-based budgeting system, which is intended to guide decision-making at a time when your base staffing and services are being funded, and the board is deciding where future growth and discretionary revenue should be applied. But that's really important. We spent a lot of time talking about that. Your board's adopted this, and you can see from the themes in here, such as funding liabilities, responsible compensation adjustments, the priorities of public safety and roads, strategic position restorations, and then just core capacity positions and facility additions. Those are all the things that your board has been dialoguing about throughout this whole process. So, as in summary, this recommended budget, I do believe, is built on a solid financial foundation, and again, this priority-based budgeting system has just provided food for thought as the board readies itself for that final budget hearing. So, if this is something your board is amenable to support, there's 4 actions listed in order to approve the recommended budget for next year. First is just adopting the 14-15 recommended budget as presented, approving all associated staffing changes, authorizing staff to proceed with the acquisition of fixed assets and capital projects prior to the final budget hearing, and approve the 14-15 Information Technology Steering Board project list, and authorizing staff to proceed with the projects prior to the final budget hearing. I would just end this by, again, thanking particularly my staff and our partner and Debbie Batista, our partner in the auditor's office, and all the department heads have worked really, really hard to present you with a balanced budget that, again, is built on a solid financial base with integrity. And I'm sitting here with a smile on my face because this is a great day where we have reached a point of leveling out after so many difficult years. And I contrast this budget to so many of those around us that are still struggling due to bad decisions that were made, in the past. Doesn't mean we're in a wonderful place, but it means that we've leveled out and we're built on a good financial base here in Tuolumne County. So I will shut down and see if there's any questions from the board.
Okay. Questions?
I just have one. In reviewing the material that you gave us at the last meeting, I noticed something that I had not previously noticed, and I can't find it in this material, but there's a line item for $45,000 going to the Arts Alliance. We have traditionally dealt with that at the end of the year with fund balance money. I think that's the proper way to do that. In fact, if my memory serves me right, we were very clear in the last deliberation where we considered that we didn't want to give them, as they asked for, 3-year funding, that we wanted to do it on a year-by-year basis. So I'm just wondering, is that $45,000 still in this package?
It's in there on page 46 under tab 4, and the reason it's in there was when we discussed the board goals this year, we specifically talked about the Arts Council, the Arts Alliance as they call themselves now, and the board had expressed interest if we could get them to do the work of bringing together the Arts and Cultural Alliance that Mr. Cope and I have been working on together, and contractually agree to do that work, and also some additional programs in rec and library that your board would be inclined to support that. And so that's the only reason it's in there, but we can certainly revisit that specifically in the final hearing.
Okay. I'd be prepared to make a motion at the proper time.
Questions? Okay, let's go to public comment. Okay. Debbie?
I just need a clarification. I think it's on C In the past, when we talked about fixed assets and capital, it was always capital. Is the board now saying that any fixed assets in anybody's budget can be bought before September? I'm okay with it, I just need to know. I mean, before, for example, all the board ever did was in the two major capital, county capital and road capital, you would all approve those projects, so we didn't have to wait until you pass the final budget. But what the Budget Act says is no fixed assets can be purchased until the approved budget, I got to stop saying final, before the approved budget is adopted in September. If I read C, I would read that you're adopting and allowing any fixed assets between now and September to be purchased. So, for example, if a department had a vehicle, in the past, we would not let them buy that vehicle till September. The way I read C, they could now buy the vehicle July 1st. If that's what you want, I just need to be able to tell my staff.
I'm confused.
No, Debbie's absolutely right. That these kinds of capital and fixed asset things, you need special permission from the board to proceed until you go through your final budget hearing and adopt something at that time. However, the board has approved capital stuff in the past. The equipment stuff's in there because you specifically took some action as far as your road equipment, your sheriff's equipment, and some of this IT stuff. If we don't proceed, those are where your big categories are specifically. The fire engine that we also put money towards, that takes like a year, to get that thing, going. So those are the reasons why you'd be approving it. I know I've been reluctant to suggest this kind of an action in prior budgets, but that's also my level of confidence, that this is built on such a solid base. I'm not worried about the budget getting worse. I think there's a chance carryover monies will get better and perhaps some of the ongoing revenues. But your board could exclude that. We would just have to wait on all those kinds of things.
So we're not waiving our authority and our power here to do this. We're just doing it early.
Specifically
We're not changing policy or anything. It's just this budget cycle.
Right.
Based on the assumption that we're in good shape.
You absolutely have the right to do that. I just need to be able to tell my staff that any account number with a 5-4 is okay, and they can purchase it effectively July 1st. In the past, we've only said these two departments, road and county capital, are the only 5-4. 5-4 means it's a capital item, are the only items that we can buy before the board passes the approved budget in September.
And
I'm okay with it. I just need to have direction.
And it's necessary to do that for everything? It's a broad brush for that, or is it just, you mentioned fire truck, I understand that.
The big ones are sheriff's vehicles, road vehicles, the fire engine. You're already covering the IT projects in the other mention. You could choose just to be that specific. I have no issue with it because those are really the big focuses. There's not that much capital in this budget other than those. So
Daniel?
whatever you'd like to do.
Another department is the airport has some capital, a roof that needs to be done during the summer.
Good point.
So there's timeline stuff. I would prefer to be inclusive and list out which things we are authorizing, and if there was something else that arose in the meantime that we need to put a pressure on that we forgot, bring it back and just have a special item.
Okay, then maybe we
Address that.
can just break that up into two items. So one is approving the cap. So item C is the capital projects, and then have a specific item where the acquisition of the fixed assets would be. I would list out sheriff's department, fire department, road department, and airport because of that roof project we want to get done before the rain comes. Hopefully the rain comes. Sheriff, roads, fire, and airports. IT's covered in they've got a separate item D. And we do that every year.
So that would be those four under C, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So it'd be capital projects and fixed assets in those four departments.
That's specific enough for me.
Does that work? Okay, nodding heads, we're good. Thank you. Okay, is there additional public comment? Okay. Bring it back to the board.
I kind of have a procedural question. Do we need to do these one at a time, or can we do them all at once?
You can do it either way.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the recommended budget as presented. I do have a proposed amendment to that, that we also adopt the appropriate staffing changes, that we adopt C to include sheriff's, roads, fire, and airport. And I would like to talk about, and to adopt D. And my recommended amendment to the proposed budget is that we do not fund $45,000 to the Arts Alliance. I am very supportive of the Arts Alliance, but I do believe that the proper way that the way that we have done it is the best way to do it. It gives us the maximum flexibility based on our budget situation, and I would like to use that $45,000 to fund approximately 70%, 75% of a new county council position, entry level, and I would like to take the remainder, $41,330 some dollars, out of contingencies if necessary, and I would like to have direct staff to look at how much of that position would actually be funded outside the general fund to minimize the impact on contingencies. That's my motion.
Okay, is there a second?
That's a clarification on the Arts Alliance. You're proposing, I got a little confused there. Are you proposing to not fund them as proposed, but are you proposing to fund them the way we have in the past?
Yes, I would. I want to review it at the end of the year with fund balance, just like we've always done.
So out of the, okay.
Yeah, I fully intend to support it. I don't
Different
think
pot of
that-
money.
Yes,
I just
well,
wanted to make sure I understood that.
it's the difference between recurring and one-time money.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Discussion.
Yeah.
I believe that, I'm not going to support the motion because I believe we should address the personnel issues at the end, in the September final budget. I don't think that this is the time to do it. We don't have all our money together. When we get to that point in September, I certainly would support it if the money was there available. But at this time, I can't support it.
Any other?
I have a question. That new position, was there some funding offsets with behavioral health or because of the type of cases that you would be taking on?
What we recommended in our budget was a Deputy County Council 1 to do the child welfare caseload. So there would be some additional offset from social services for, because we get reimbursed, we bill the non-general fund departments. So we estimated approximately $30,000.
$30,000?
Okay. And I'm willing to support it. I agree with the comments that were made, and I think funding the Arts Council out of one-time money is okay. I know this position Carl's talking about has been talked about for a long time, and there's a bottleneck in that office that's holding up a lot of things, and correcting that, I think, will help us achieve some of our other goals. So at this point, I'm willing to support it. I think there is a pretty long recruiting period probably to find a good candidate, so I think what do you suspect for a process if we were to do this?
Well, I think I would defer to Ms. Frimm, but we would go through our normal process. She and I have spoken before because we knew that this was one of the high priority restorations. So I believe that we would be ready fairly soon to go ahead and apply the position. But then we're going to want to leave it open at least a month maybe, okay? And, to be able to find the best qualified candidate,
So at least a couple of months.
probably.
Yeah. Just to summarize, it'd take 2 to 3 months to actually get probably closer to 3 months, have a live, warm person in the office, if that's what you'd like to do. So if I could just, so we had an estimate of, we want a live, warm person, not a dead one, I'm sorry. Live, warm body, there. So we had estimated the full year cost at a little over $86,000, so we'd be taking the $45,000 out of the Arts Council, and I'd have to figure out how to prorate, but and I agree, I concur with what Sarah said about $30,000 of a full year of someone there, so there'd be some prorated amount of that. That would leave us about $11,377, short. I'm just trying to think of how to put it together. To do it cleanly, maybe the thing to do right now would be to take those assumptions, take the $45,000 for the art, add the whole 86 whatever number, just to make it clean. Take the 86,377, add it to that cost center, take away the $45,000 from arts to be discussed in the final hearing, add $30,000 in revenue, and so we can do it is take that 11,377, the difference out of your contingencies.
Okay.
And if we made that adjustment, you'd have it covered for sure. The reality is it'll cost less, you won't get as much revenue, but that'll give us time between now and the final hearing to figure that out if that's what the board wants to do.
That works for me.
I just did those calculations for you quickly. If you take the 86,000 total cost and you assume 75% of that during the fiscal year, you're talking about $64.5 thousand. And if you take the 30,000 reimbursement and again modify that by saying you only get 75%, that's 22.5. So the net cost during the course of the 3 quarters of the year would only be 42,000, and that's covered.
Okay. So I'm okay with that.
Just want to add that, this should be a conversation in the final budget. We have our policies that we have followed that have got us to where we're at today, level playing field. And I think to go outside of those at this time is the wrong thing to do. We haven't finalized our vote on the PERS. We, at this point, do not know where we're going to be at all. And I strongly believe we should wait until we have those final figures before we make this type of decision. Something we may have to go back on. Anyway, that's my position.
Okay. Thank you. And I'd just comment, if we have to go back on it, we can always go back on it. And I would look at it the same as we are with the capital projects that we're moving forward with. There's a time issue, but it has a lot to do with the goals of the board. And I would make one request. When you're looking for a candidate, prioritize a focus on natural resources and water as much as possible if you can find someone that has any kind of experience or background on that. And with that, is there any other comments? Okay, I'll call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay, motion carries 4-1. Thank you. Okay, we have, let's see here. We need to make a correction to, oh, you want to do that first? Okay. Yeah, we were going to recess as Board of Supervisors, reconvene as, no? Oh. You're not talking to me. Okay. So, finish
We're
off.
recessing, right?
Recess as the Board of Supervisors, reconvene as was the Public Power Agency.
Okay, I'll read it now. Consideration of approving the fiscal year 2014-15 budget for the Tuolumne County Public Power Agency.
Okay.
Good morning. Kathleen Half, your Deputy Director of Tuolumne Public Power Agency. And we have before you the proposed budget for this next fiscal year, 2014-15, for Tuolumne Public Power, which is also known as TPPA, and that's probably what I'll be saying from now on in this presentation. This year's budget was based on consumption of 26 million kilowatt hours. So from that, I wanted to kind of lead you through the first attachment. It's attachment A, because this is a new budgeting tool we started using last year with the complications of all the different various power agencies that we have to pay and some of their increases in costs. So if you're looking at that, you'll notice that the first area is PG&E. And as you know, as of last year, March 2013, we've been in a FERC rates case with PG&E. Not just Tuolumne Public Power, but quite a few other agencies around the state have also been enjoined in this rate case. And May 1st of this year, we finally reached an interim settlement on our rate. And there are some other issues that are yet to be solved, but most of those do not involve TPPA. So we can, for sure, we can say that starting next year, if not maybe a little before, our rate for the kilowatt hour cost will be 0.02977. Now, we have been paying the higher rate. It's 0.039 something since November. But as of this next fiscal year, we'll be paying the interim rate, which will probably be our settlement rate. And we will also get our FERC credits back. You remember the improvements that we do for any of our facilities, and we pay PG&E, and then we dedicate the project over to PG&E. Well, we've always gotten some kind of a credit for those installations, and we got credit up until the last agreement with PG&E, which was consummated in 2004. So ever since 2005, any installations that we had since then up until 2013, we weren't getting credit for. PG&E wanted to take our credits away altogether, and we said, hey, wait a minute. We need to get those credits, and we need more, and we did get it. And, it was based upon percentage of the new installations we did since 2005. So you'll see the second line underneath PG&E is for the FERC credit, and it will be $45,150 per year. So when you take all of this into consideration, our blended rate will bring our costs to pay PG&E for the distribution of power to our meters at about, it's 2.8 cents per kilowatt hour. Okay, so we're pretty rest assured that will be stable. The only thing we don't know is when we're going to get repaid for the amount that we've paid over, because sometime either this fiscal year or next fiscal year we'll get paid, we'll get rebated the amount of money that we've been paying, because we've been paying the 0.03 cents per kilowatt hour for the distribution of that power. And I'll get back to that later. Okay, under Western Area Power, the kind of peach-colored section, this is the area that brings us most concern at this point. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Okay, the second area. So our actual rate that we're paying Western Area Power, or WAPA, is 0.74%. Of all of their accounts, ours amounts to 0.74. Now, I want to step back and explain to you that that is an extraordinarily low rate. We should have gone up. As of April, we should have gone up, and we didn't.
Are you complaining?
I'm sorry?
Are you complaining?
Yes, and I'll tell you why. It has to do with our true-ups. So we're being underbilled. The drought has caused severe problems with generation, or will, and they're probably going to have to go outside to pay for power. You know, we get our generation from New Melones, and that is going to be at a higher rate. We're going to pay for it later, and we're going to pay for it in our 2014 federal fiscal year 2014 true-up, and it's not pretty. We already know it's going to be really ugly. I'll get back to that later. Anyway, but for right now, we are enjoying the 0.74% rate until our next time that, they evaluate every 6 months, October and April. WAPA does. And so our next time to be reevaluated will be in the October time period. And in talking with our representative at Western Power, we figure it'll go up to 1.2%. Now, that's where it probably should have been all along. See, there's a certain threshold that they have to reach, and we were just a hair below that, so we didn't have to pay the 1.2. So, and this is an estimate, but a pretty good one, that it will probably be around the 1.2%. So I took that for the remainder of the year, and that's a second figure you'll see there under the Western Area Power. So then we get to the true-ups, and we're completing our first year ever and it's on the federal fiscal year, the true-up. So what you're seeing, what we've been experiencing so far is that WAPA gives us our rates, and if they undercharged us, they come back and bill us later for how much they undercharged. It should work both ways, but so far we haven't seen it the other way where they overcharged us and we get money back. So for we're finishing off the 2012 federal fiscal year true-up, and that amounts to $6,700, a little over $6,700 a month to pay for that. And then the 2013 true-up begins, and that's not quite as onerous as the 2012, but we're still having to pay about $3,000, a little over $3,000 a month for that true-up because we underpaid for that one too. If you want to hold on to your seats, the 2014 true-up is projected to be somewhere between $280,000 and $320,000 for the year. Huge. Okay. So I'm mentioning that now because I'm going to come back later and talk about what our recommended budget is for this year. The true-up costs for 2014 don't show up in this year's budget, okay? But I just wanted to give you that as a side note. CalISO, who we pay for scheduling our electricity, is remaining about the same, but of course with higher consumption, the cost is higher. But it amounts to $411,000 for the year. And then we have our general overhead, which is $151,000, almost $152,000. And then our programs such as the Energy Conservation Program and the Electrical Upgrade Program, which is money in, money out, which gives us our whole budget there. Okay? So what I'd like to do now is turn you to Attachment B, which is the actual cost, the true cost of the budget. And our true cost works out to about 8.3 cents per kilowatt hour for this year. And if you had a color copy, I'm really sorry I didn't realize you didn't have color copies, but I kind of color-coded the energy costs here with that Attachment A, so you could kind of easily pick up where those costs got moved from Attachment A to Attachment B. And if you subtract the $300,000 from the total expenses, because as I said, the $300,000 is the energy conservation money that's money in, money out, and also the electrical upgrades, you come up with a budget of $2,149,590, which is what the 8.3 cents per kilowatt hour is based upon. Okay. Any questions so far?
No.
Yeah,
You got one?
I do. And so, and it's kind of this crystal ball thing. So when you were talking about that, the true up, that is based on a projection of what you think precipitation will be next year?
Well, from now, and yes, and
through next year.
But we know we're working at a deficit with what the usage
Current.
is for Malone, and it's specifically for Malonis, New Malonis Lake.
Right, for the current, okay.
Yeah.
So because the projections that I've read are suggesting an El Nino year, I've seen like 70% certainty. Again, nobody will define what that means. But my question is so if we do have an El Nino year and that rainfall does occur, and would that be captured then in a refund in 2016?
Well, as we go along, you'll see that I'm going to be suggesting we bring in rate stabilization funds if this does occur to bring down the cost. And if we do get an El Nino year and we don't have to use that rate stabilization money, or we have to use less of it, great. Okay. So they're kind of some
offset.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me just mention, I've been in so many of these meetings with the National Weather Service folks, and there's
all over.
yeah, and they're saying it's all over. It's like a 50-50 chance, the type of weather system we might experience. But I guess we're right in that wonderful spot in the middle of the state where it could cut both ways, regardless of their prediction. But the other factor about New Melones, we all know that they're taking it down to a very low level. So it'll take them, even if we had sustained rains, it'll take them some years to get that thing built back where they could generate like they have been. But it is guesswork, but the National Weather Service people saying it's really 50-50 chance of it going one way or the other for us. But that's to fill up and generate power from an already diminished reservoir.
My question really, if it did happen, though, was to get at where's the offset to roll that back?
Right. Okay, so let's go to attachment C then, because what we're proposing in the 14-15 budget is to offset this 8.3 cents actual budget with 0.3 cents of rate stabilization money. And we brought in 0.5 cent last year, and the reason we're not suggesting to bring in any more than what we're bringing in is because of what I told you about the 2014 federal fiscal year true-up that we're going to have. It's going to be a whopper, or probably will be a whopper. So our rate is going to go up. And if all things stayed the same, each budget is different, so it's hard to say. But if you put that extra cost into this budget, it would amount to 1.1 to 1.2 cents more for our actual budget. So that's quite considerable. So looking at this attachment C, this shows an 8 cent per kilowatt rate, bringing in $93,795 in rate stabilization funding if we need to. Right now, our rate stabilization fund sits at $370,355. Okay, and then we've got another cash restricted fund of a little over $500,000, but that's specifically for energy conservation and not to be used for anything else. So they're both actually restricted funds. So that's what we have to work with. It would leave, I had it calculated over here, considering what if we do need to pay out the total amount that we said for this year plus $93,000 for this next fiscal year, that would leave $106,000, almost $107,000 in the rate stabilization fund for the following fiscal year, 15-16. Okay. Any other questions before I move on? I have just a couple more things to say, but about this recommended budget at 8 cents per kilowatt hour.
Keep going.
Yeah. Okay. So we had a meeting with the TPPA members. We have 31 different members, and it was pretty well. It was the best attended budget meeting that we've had. We had 11 people there representing 10 different agencies. And, of course, there was concern over the rate jump, but everybody understood what was happening. And they did have a couple of recommendations. One was to continue to support a prudent reserve. And the second one was when we do go to Tier 2 membership and the guidelines are developed, to plan some portion of that income to pay for bolstering our reserves. So those were their comments. I don't see anybody in the audience from our membership, but they were told about this meeting. And with that, I'll entertain any other questions, and then I'll move on to recommendations.
Just a reminder, Tier 2 membership would be if we brought on additional governmental agencies such as the park or
State,
Forest
federal.
Service, if the board was so inclined.
Right.
That's what a Tier 2 member would be.
Okay. Randy.
Yeah, Kathleen, my concern is long-term.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you mentioned the true-up being a huge thing coming next year, but my concern is that Melones may become, not only because of the water availability, but may become more and more less reliable because of the demand on Maloney's to support the Bay Delta plan and the support of freshwater to the Delta, and that maybe it won't even be there for us. And so I'm really concerned about what our plan is going forward to deal with those contingencies. If they suck it dry to support the Delta, we're going to be buying power every year from high-cost sources. So what's your take on that?
Well, after the CVP, which is the Central Valley Project, we're next in line to get power. We're way up there. So that would mean quite a few other agencies down below us, preference customers. See, we're first preference. There are a lot of preference customers below us would not get it before we wouldn't get it. So we have that on our side. But you're right. We get 108 gigawatts of power a year based upon a 5-year rolling average. And if that average keeps going down, we'll get less and less of that pie, and we'll have less to be able to use from that source. So that is a concern long term.
And the board's commented on this through a variety of things we've talked about, the Bay Delta plan and other things, and where's that water going to come from? We talked about what the result could be on our recreation, on the water, and we have talked about this public power. And I think your view of this is
my
as good as mine.
My concern is keeping TPPA viable, financially viable, and keeping it as a useful thing, not just for the county's power use, but everybody else that is on this. We keep the cost of government down. Is it better that we not use so much rate stabilization funds? I mean, where does that money come? How does that get replenished over time, and will it get replenished over time to deal with some of these expected spikes, if you will? And very frankly, I'm not sure I see the end of it. That's my problem.
Yep.
Actually, Randy, that's why you're seeing a smaller amount of rate stabilization being proposed, because long-term these are starting to grow. It's still a heck of a deal, because we're still talking, was about half of the rate of PG, if we just went straight PG&E.
Yeah, and PG&E isn't straight because they have tiered. So it's 16 to 19 cents base with PG&E.
And again, just a reminder, this isn't just for us, it's for all the other public entities, particularly the schools and so forth. So your board's been hitting on this in your comments. It's really, it's on the side of things where we can speak into the amount of water that's pulled, from Maloney's and the multiple negative impacts. This is great because it brings focus to this very valuable asset that we have, and we need to protect it.
Okay. Let's go to public comment. Okay, bring it back for motion.
So I have 3 recommendations.
Okay.
The first one is to lower the actual rate to 8 cents per kilowatt hour, and by bringing in the 93,795 in rate stabilization. And that's if it's needed. Okay. And then the second recommendation is about the reimbursements we will be getting. Actually, the second and the third one. We will be getting reimbursement from PG&E because of this interim settlement, okay? And I had calculated right now for the November through February billings, they've almost collected $50,000 that they're going to be giving back to us. It's just a matter of when they're going to start giving that back to us and start charging us the interim rate, and I don't know, but that's where we are right now, $50,000. So this money should be first brought in to repay the rate stabilization fund. That's a second recommendation. And then the third recommendation is if we go over all the money that we've brought in, and I don't think we will, but if we do, that we have brought in from this year and next year for rate stabilization and reimbursements, then we would start reimbursing the members on a by consumption percentage. So those are the 3 recommendations.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the budget with staff recommendations.
Do I have a second? Okay, a motion and a second. Any comments on the motion? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we will now, I guess, adjourn as the Public Power Agency, reconvene as the Board of Supervisors, and we need to correct a matter that was handled during the consent calendar. I need a motion to withdraw the original motion of the consent calendar items 1, 2, 4, and 4, 1, 2, 4, and, excuse me, 1, 2, and 4 to 9.
So, second.
Okay, I got a motion from Gray, a second from Rotifer. Call for the question. Actually, do I need public comment on that? Public comment? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries unanimously. Second, I need a motion now to approve consent calendar 1 and then 4 to 9.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any public comment? Gray moved. Rotifer seconded. Seeing no public comment, I'll call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carries 5-0. And then third, I need a motion to consider number 2. Yeah.
Number 2 is resolution approving Ann Knight as an extra help retired annuitant to perform the duties as a relief systems analysis programmer 2 for the County of Tuolumne under Government Code Section 21224, effective August 15, 2014.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, the reason we're doing this is I'm informed that such an action cannot be done on a consent calendar. It needs to be done on a regular, as a regular item, so that's why we're doing this. I could have Daniel give you a brief.
That's fine. Let's just do it.
Daniel Richardson, Deputy County Administrator. Ann Knight is a wonderful employee for IT who has earned retirement. However, we need her skills to produce the budget. She is heavily involved in the budget system, and there is not someone in county government who has her skills, nor is there a consultant out there who has these skills in the PeopleSoft Oracle world, because they have discontinued this particular budget system, and how we use it is unique. So for that reason, we would like to bring her back as a PERS annuitant, and so we need to adopt a resolution which allows her to come back as an extra help retired annuitant to perform the current duties in the budget.
Thank you. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion in a second. How long are we anticipating that, just out of curiosity?
Well, this allows us to bring her this next fiscal year.
Okay.
We need to make a decision as far as our long-term budget system. We're now with an Oracle PeopleSoft system, but we're evaluating other options out there.
Okay. I move on staff recommendation.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any public comment?
Okay.
Back to the
Just to
board.
mention that that replacement, so we're not in this place in the future, is on your board goals list.
Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries 5-0. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, let's go back to 16. So, do we need to read it again? Since we didn't handle it, we already read it? Okay, read it again.
Closed session, conferences with labor negotiators Craig Pedro and Friends, Authority Government Code Section 549576, all bargaining units.
Okay. Any public comment? Okay, we will recess to closed session. Okay, we are back, and could the clerk please read our 1:30?
Is there anything to report after closed session?
Nope.
Okay. Public hearing to consider Ray Sanguinetti Land Company, Tracy Whitney, Donna Feldman, and Rosemary and Danny Norton. It's a mitigated declaration and a special ordinance amending Section 1706020 of the Tuolumne County Ordinance Code.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm Bev Shane, Community Resources Director. Members of the Sanguinetti family own 105 acres located off of Old Wards Ferry Road. There's one house on the property, which is located at 18264 Old Wards Ferry. They are asking for your approval today to rezone the 105 acres from A1 under our old zoning ordinance 352 to 51.2 acres of RE2 zoning, 29.3 acres of RE5 zoning, 13.8 acres of open space, and 10.7 acres of open space 1. This zoning is being requested in order for the Sanguinettis to pursue land divisions for family members. They have submitted 2 tentative parcel maps, T13-015 and T13-016, in order to subdivide the property into a total of 8 parcels. Each of those parcels would be allowed to have 2 homes under the proposed zoning. The zoning is consistent with the general plan, and that density is compatible with other zoning in that particular area of the county. With 2 homes on each parcel, there would be a total of 16 homes. As I mentioned, there is 1 existing home on the site. The property owners submitted their application for the tentative maps by identifying building envelopes for those future home sites. Those building envelopes, as shown on the maps, would include both homes plus accessory structures and facilities, and would limit the amount of disturbance on this site. And so it acts as a mitigation measure in itself. The open space and open space 1 zoning is proposed as mitigation to protect the riparian corridors along the Intermittent Stream and Sullivan Creek, which flow through the property. That the open space zoning will protect valley oaks and elderberries on the site, as well as cultural resources. There are actually 9 cultural resources identified on the property, of which only 1 was potentially eligible for listing on the California Register of Historic Resources. This project was reviewed by your Tuolumne County Planning Commission at its meeting on June 4th. After hearing from the property owner's representative and hearing no opposition, the Tuolumne County Planning Commission has endorsed this rezoning by unanimous vote. Mr. York's with me today in case you have any questions about the proposed roads for the project or the traffic analysis. The one comment we did receive from a neighboring property owner in writing was concerns about increased traffic in that area.
Thank you very much, Ms. Shane. Is there any questions? Yeah?
Ms. Shane or Duke, I don't care, who answers. I have a concern about open space in 01, not from the fact that we designated necessarily, but in how it's treated. Also, it looks like there's a spot here where it's 200 feet from an intermittent or stream or ephemeral creek or whatever that is, and another one 150. My concern, you and I have talked about this, Ms. Shane, is that these properties that get zoned into 01 are generally neglected in terms of maintenance, and there's an excuse because they have to get a permit to come do anything with it. But I believe that potentially propagates wildfire, and we've seen wildfire more than we like recently, and in going to recent Forest Service meetings, they're questioning their own designations in terms of how they treat riparian areas, for instance, and they think they have been too restrictive in that. So I'm curious, what happens to this land? Is it just neglected, or is there any obligation or opportunity for these people to, how shall I say, masticate these areas in the mode of preventing wildfire?
There is a condition of approval for a fuel reduction plan for the entire site. And that is something that's reviewed by our fire prevention division to determine where fuels need to be removed in order to reduce fire hazard. As far as ongoing maintenance is concerned, that is the obligation of the property owners. They, of course, have to meet their defensible space. If they want to do more than that, and maintain what has been approved by the fuel management plan. There are provisions in both our O and O1 zoning with a no fee permit to do additional fire protection in those areas.
So what are the requirements by the fire guy on?
It varies per site. It's a lot of limbing up of branches, not necessarily tree removal, but limbing up, removing brush, that type of thing, to reduce the fuel ladder and have a understory as well as the low-hanging branches. What they want to see is a clearance of about 8 feet above the ground.
And that's required?
That is reviewed by the Fire Prevention Division on a case-by-case basis as to what fuels need to be removed.
Okay, but there's no requirement to do this. Is that what you're telling me?
They require the fuels to be
that's
reduced.
what I was getting.
But
Okay,
the exact
okay.
standard is done on a case-by-case review.
That's it? Any other questions?
This is one of few, as I remember, where we have established building areas. Is that true?
That's right,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. That simplifies a lot of.
Yes, it
a lot
does.
of
It
things.
makes it much easier to go through the environmental process. And actually, for the, if they did sell these properties to someone other than family members, for the buyer to know exactly what the rules are.
All right, thank you. That's all I have.
Is that the same as doing a tag? Doing tags, or I remember during the Biological Resources Ad Hoc Committee, they talked about tags versus open space, where it's basically setbacks.
Well, they had a biologist
They actually have
do
the
a study who proposed the open spaces mitigation. We have put in the proposed biological resources section of the general plan, of course, alternatives such as using even AE's 37 zoning as a way to mitigate the impact if you do a biological study and a management plan for it. So it's a similar process. In this particular case, they did propose the open space zoning.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, at this time I'm going to open the public hearing and invite anybody that would like to speak in favor of the project to come forward.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, board members. I'm Gary Mello, professional engineering and survey, and I'm representing the property owners as their engineer and surveyor. We have been at this a very, very long time, and the good news is we are totally in agreement with the conditions that have been prepared by your staff. Appreciate the questions that were asked earlier, Mr. Hanvelt. And I think that the conditions that we have are, in fact, workable. I have explained to my clients the one issue that they need to be aware of in the future, and that's the possible need for a stream bed alteration agreement if they do work in the area of the intermittent stream. So they are aware of that, and I think in order for us to be able to move forward with Fish and Game, that was a condition that needed to be included. So we're supportive of your staff's recommendation, and frankly, for a lot of work that they have put in over the last many years in this process. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer those.
Thank you. Okay. Any other? Thank you, Gary. Anyone else like to speak in favor? Okay. Are there anyone that would like to speak opposed? Neutral. Okay. Public hearing is closed. Bring it back to the board for motion.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the negative declaration prepared for this project based on findings A through F. I also move to approve the zone change RZ 13-003 based on findings A, B, and C.
Second.
Okay. Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Okay, could the clerk please read our next 130?
Public hearing to consider adopting a resolution to establish permanent road division zone of benefit number 4 for the existing Apple Valley Manor.
Thank you. Staff report.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to turn this over to Mr. York. I just want to advise the board that pursuant to Government Code Section 87-100, I have recused myself from participating in any aspect of the processing of this application due to the fact that I own property in Apple Valley. Thank you.
Before you today, Duke York, Deputy Director in charge of the Roads Division. Before you today is a proposal to convert the Apple Valley Manors, which was originally approved as a homeowners association, and we were approached by the subdivider of that development to convert it to a permanent road division. He currently owns all of the parcels in that subdivision. So the Community Resources received a petition of intent form signed by 100% of the property owners to form a permanent road division and to perform maintenance on the roads. It was prepared by a registered engineer and reviewed and approved by staff. The property owners submitted a letter in accordance with the Tuolumne County Board Resolution 31-13 requesting deferral of the collection of the special taxes for 10 years or until 20% of the parcels have been sold, whichever occurs first. An initial deposit will be required to be set aside for emergency maintenance. Public hearing is set for June 17, 2014 to officially establish the permanent road division zone of benefit in accordance with the Streets and Highways Code section 1160. Your board accepted the dedication of the roads for public use back on May 6th, and before you today is a proposal that staff recommends that your board conduct the public hearing to, as required for the permanent road division zone of benefit number 4, and by adopting the attached resolution.
Thank you. Questions?
Mr. York, how much is that set aside money, the deposit money?
Yeah, go ahead. With me is Sharon Mikesell, who is in charge of the county service areas.
The initial deposit is $7,361.
All right, thank you.
Additional questions? Okay, this time I'll open the public hearing and ask anybody that would like to come forward to speak in favor of the project.
Board. I'm Kirk Summers, representing Summers Family Investments, LLC. And I don't really have anything to add. I think it's all covered, but I can answer any questions if you need her.
Perfect. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Is there anyone that would like to speak opposed to this project? Or neutrally? Public hearing is closed. Bring it back to the board for motion.
Yeah, I would move that we establish a permanent road division zone of benefit number 4 by adopting the resolution for the existing Apple Valley Manors subdivision, 14 SUB 96-99.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion second on the floor. Any discussion? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries 5-0. Thank you. Okay. Could the clerk please read our third 1:30 appointment?
Consideration of supporting Caltrans' proposed work plan for the Tuolumne River Don Pedro Reservoir Bridge Rehabilitation Project on State Route 12049, approving use of the county roads for the detour routes required for the project, and authorizing the Deputy Community Resources Agency Director of Roads to approve the minor modifications to the detour route or work program on the behalf of Tuolumne County.
Thank you. Staff report.
With us today is Sam Sherman from Caltrans, who is the project manager for this particular project. I should mention that this particular item did go to the Board of Supervisors Transportation Committee, and they gave direction and requested that it be brought before the full board. And with that, I'll introduce Sam Sherman.
Hi, Sam. Good to see you again.
Good afternoon, Chairman Royce and board members. I don't have a particular presentation on this. In the briefing package, there was quite a bit of information. I guess the one thing that I do want to comment or present to you is that this is a very complex project. It's very difficult, and bottom line is we need the county's support to make this project the best project that we can come up with the least impact to the community. And we've really sharpened our pencils over the last couple of years to establish what we believe and have selected alternative 3 as being the project that would create the least amount of impact to the community. You know, we're obviously very concerned and understand the concerns that you might have, particularly in light of past problems within it, like, for instance, the REM fire. And we're very conscious of that, and we want to work together kind of in a collaborative effort to make this project the least impact. I'm open for questions.
Yeah, Sam, one of the we all have the concerns about closing the road, but I think there was during our Transportation Commission meeting there, we did have additional information that clarified why we can't do a one-lane closure on that particular road. Could you explain to the rest of the board why that is?
Yes, I'd be happy to. I'm not a bridge engineer, and the gentleman that probably had the best technical expertise was on vacation this week, so he sent me solely here to present this. But the issue with the current structure is there's 2 steel girders, very tall girders, and the problem is you can't just balance one lane on one of the girders while you replace half of the bridge, if that makes sense. So unfortunately, we have to, on a segment-by-segment basis, replace the existing deck, and that's what we ultimately have to do. Section by section, pull out the old deck, replace it with a new segment, and there's going to be longitudinal ducts within that deck that, in the end, we put steel strands through to post-tension it. So we can't just balance it, so it's going to require both lanes to be closed, and we've felt that we could do that within a 12-hour period. There's a lot of sequence of activities to do that on a night-by-night basis. We'd love to do more segments, but the existing bridge girders themselves are limited in the amount of weight, so we can't put huge cranes on there. We're going to have to devise some special equipment to be able to pull out the old deck, bring in a new deck, place it, put the closure pores in, and have it reopened by morning. And we will have, and I have promised the Transportation Committee that we will certainly have incentives and disincentives in there. So if they're very stiff penalties, if they're not open by whatever the established time, whether it's 6:30 a.m. or 7 a.m., and we're open to the contractor coming up with better methods to doing this as well, and we will be talking with them. But certainly we don't believe we can do it without actual nightly closures. I don't know if that answered your question, Chairman.
Yes, and I think the other important thing is the time of year that you have proposed to do this job is the least amount of impact to the highway. But I think that you have done your best to pick the time. If you might want to just elaborate on that a little bit.
Correct. In talking with Mr. York, also we believe that there's a time period during the winter where we believe it'll have the least amount of impact to the economy and your livelihood, and that's the tourism and so forth. And so we've devised our schedule, and we put a tentative in our briefing paper, but we're looking towards the winter of 2015, and that's something that I would mandate. You know, it's not as easy during the winter to construct something, but we realize that it's a doable thing, and we can impose those conditions and limitations on the contractor. So we're looking at the winter of November, mid-November timeframe through February. We've suggested about, or at least our bridge engineers have come up with a need for 91 nightly closure. And if you only work 5 days a week, that would put it out about 4.5 months. So I guess one of the other considerations out there, if the conditions permit and the board approves, you know, we could also make them work weekends and get those nightly closures done in a faster time frame.
Yeah, the other thing is that this is going to have a great impact on the people on that 120 corridor. Do you plan to do any reach out to the community, a town hall meeting, possibly in the near future, to explain what's happening and the real reasons behind it?
Absolutely. Although I'm not sure the town hall meeting, that particular concept has come up, but we've done that successfully in the past. But I have talked to our public information officer, and they are working on a public outreach plan. We have a list of various stakeholders that are going to be affected by this that we want to reach out to, particularly like Yosemite National Park and the irrigation district, and there's Hetch Hetchy. There's a host of individuals that we want to do that. Another condition that we want to impose on the contractor is a 30-day notification before they actually start the closure, so that we can do a very significant outreach. But if that's something you desire to have a public town hall meeting, I'd be happy to consider that and come back with a recommendation.
I think it's important so everybody knows way in advance, so plans can be made accordingly. And, you know, over a year is what I'm talking about, way in advance.
Okay.
We had extensive, go ahead.
I think you partially answered this question. You suggested 12 hours a day shutdown. Would that be 6 to 6? Is that what we're talking about?
We've put out there tentatively 6:30 p.m. to 6:30 a.m.,
Okay.
7 p.m. to 7 a.m., and we will work with the county on establishing the best time frame. There's a lot of activities that have to occur to cut out we're thinking about a 32.
No, I understand that. The logistics are a nightmare. Have you got an idea how much traffic you would divert on a daily basis during those hours? I'm worried about the impact on 120.
Yes. The numbers that have been given to me were around 700 vehicles during this time frame, and and I think that's one of the reasons why the Transportation Committee asked us to look at an alternate detour, or having two detours that we could split those two. The truck traffic itself, we assume, would reduce during the evening hours, we hope. And so we've designated a particular route for them that would take them a much lengthier and create longer delays. But the others we would send across Jackson Road. There's a map that Mr. York kindly put together. We had a similar map, and I think we're in agreement on that, of sending local traffic over, like, say, Jackson.
So 700 vehicles. Have you any idea how much extra mileage that puts on them?
I had it in an amount of more of a delay in terms of how much longer it would take you.
Okay, give me that number.
It was, I think, potentially greater than 30 minutes along the southern detour route.
Oh, yeah, much greater, I would think.
And less than 20 minutes on the northern detour route. But it all depends on the origin of where these people are coming from. If you look at the map, they could be coming and entering this detour at any point. So,
Well, the traffic going, traffic coming on 120 going to Sonora really probably saves time and money in terms of gas mileage going Jacksonville Road. Stuff going through to 120 going to Oakdale or something, that's a big detour. And anything going through Coulterville, Lord, that's going to take a long time.
I think, of that 700 cars, the majority of those 700 are probably going, at that time of year, because Tioga's closed, are probably going to be local people. And I would say the majority of those people are going to be going to Sonora. That would be my assumption, just by watching what I see every morning. The thing that with the trucks is the most difficult, because you don't want to put all the trucks on Stent Jacksonville, Campo Seco Road, but that's a long truck route, but I don't know where else to send them. Ward's Ferry?
I assume that the reason that the detour goes Jacksonville to Campo Seco and up that way is because of the quality of the roads. My concern is that people that know what they're doing, if they're not going to Sonora, aren't going to go to Campo Seco. If they're headed down the hill, they're going to go right through downtown Jamestown. And my concern is what that's going to do to the downtown Jamestown traffic pattern.
Well, one of the considerations we had when we looked at the alternative detour route number 2 was to try to identify a route where we knew that the locals were going to go anyhow. And what they're primarily looking to get to is Highway 49, going either connectivity coming northbound on 49 and either trying to get to 108 or trying to get back to 49. And the proposal was to try to let those locals that want to go that way and know where they're going have an opportunity to go that way, because it's a lot quicker than, as you pointed out, going through Coulterville and those other routes. So those roads, whether it be Seco and down to Main Street, there might be a few that will go there because they're maybe headed that direction anyhow, but the vast majority of these late-night travelers are headed to East Sonora or points north on Highway 49 or east on 108.
Okay.
And they'll be directed through Campo Seco and Lime Kiln. Right.
Correct.
The other thing that was discussed during our transportation committee was the fact that we didn't want to deter people, especially tourists that were going to potentially come through Sonora before they headed there, whether they're buying fuel or they're going to stay for the night and find lodging. We wanted to make sure that there's a route so that people still come through Colony County. And that's what the second route does. The first route, the green route on your map, is for the truck traffic, and with our other route, we just couldn't accommodate them. So I really appreciate Caltrans making the exception to have the two routes. And there was talk about specifications within the bid documents for signage and what it would take to create those routes. But
I'll tell you, I came back one night about 10 o'clock, and that was when the big Don Pedro fire about 3 or 4 years ago was happening. And it added an hour to my trip back to Sonora by having to go through Coulterville. That was an amazingly long diversion. So,
Randy? Oh, Sherry, go ahead.
That's my concern is that truck route, and I guess folks that are in the, I would think it would be goods and things going to the Groveland area that would be hampered, and they'll have to, I guess, really look at that schedule. So they're transporting
during the day.
Yeah, I think that's why we need to get the outreach
because I think
early
that route,
on to all of those big companies. I would see them, doing their best to make that.
Because going over Bonds Flat Road in the middle of the night with a semi just makes no sense to me at all. So
I would sincerely hope that most of the deliveries occurred during the day.
It's going to be really important to do that outreach, and we don't want to get somebody stuck up there that's not aware.
Certainly agree. And we can't prevent necessarily the trucks taking Jacksonville Road. And so they if a local driver knew where they were going and it wasn't an 18-wheeler and knew he wouldn't get stuck somewhere in the turns up there, then it's likely that he would take that route. The one thing, and I appreciate Chairman Royce mentioning it, is we put together a fairly extensive traffic management plan. Sheets laying out exactly where the signage goes, what the signage says, the tentative messages for our portable changeable message signs. And one thing we plan to do is and I was given a direction to get these plans out as early as possible, sit down with the county and go over with them in a collaborative method so we can agree on it.
You said winter 2015, so you're talking next January?
The advertisement of that project would be like in April of, I had the schedule here. if we advertise, would be like June of 2015. And then we would award the project to a contractor. This is tentative in August, approve the contract towards the end of August. There's a time period, because of these are special prefabbed segments, they need a couple months to be able to get the shop drawings approved, manufacture those, so that we're really looking at hitting the ground of like November of 2015.
Oh, okay, November starts the time frame, okay.
Yes. Sorry, that was a long answer.
One of my concerns is we'll still be doing rim of fire recovery. If we have a mild winter on the south side, they'll be running logging trucks if they can. Now, that's not likely going to happen in November, December, January timeframe. That's the good news. But if it does, they like to start really early in the morning, so we'll have logging trucks going on Jacksonville Road potentially. Okay, just so we know.
So you guys are volunteering to take J59 as a state road now, huh? Nod your head, yes?
We had that discussion.
Yeah. I knew that. We tried. Any other questions? Let's get this thing going. Thank you, Sam. Okay, let's see.
Before your motion there, I do want to, if the board would consider stating their opposition to a 24/7 closure, that way we know, because we know the contractor is going to come in with some great ideas about closing everything down.
We're happy to do that.
Yeah.
That helps you with your record.
Okay.
Okay. Is there any public comment? Bring it back to the board and ask for a motion that includes comment about 24/7 closure.
Yeah, I move that we do to do our best to work with Caltrans on alternative 3 and make it clear that we do object to the 24-hour closure, and that anything that we can do to limit that would be appreciated, or would be considered, should be considered.
Second.
Can you include having them work on weekends too, potentially?
Working 7 days a week.
Yeah.
I'll amend my second.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll include that in there.
Mr. Chairman, so you're making the recommendation on page 2, but adding that the board expressly objects to a 24-hour closure of the bridge and associated Highway 120, and also that you would support a 7-day work week
Yes.
to expedite the project.
Yes.
Is that good?
Does that work for you?
Perfect.
Perfect. Okay. Any
All right.
other discussion? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carries 5-0. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
All right. I think we're done too. Anything else? No, we're done. Okay. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Sam. Our pleasure.